Welcome! In this video I'm going to be taking a look at this Amcrest 5 megapixel Smart PoE outdoor security camera. So this was provided to me by the distributor, but they're not compensating me for this video and they're not reviewing it before I post it. If you find this video helpful and you want to purchase one of these, I'll put a link to it in the description on Amazon, and if you use that link it helps me out a little bit and doesn't cost you anything extra. So this is one of their AI series of cameras. So this has human detection, perimeter protection, it's IP67 waterproof, has vehicle detection, built-in mic, says flexible storage. It's 5 megapixel. Here we have some more specs. A couple different ones. Has night color, HEVC compression, and on that storage it says 256 gigabytes, so maybe that's the max. I'm guessing that is. So that's a pretty good size. It has 129 degree viewing angle, wide dynamic range. So let's get this open. Here we have a drilling template. They have a 1-month subscription to Amcrest Cloud. Here we have like thank you card, warranty card, FCC proclamation. Here's a quick start guide. We'll take a quick look at it. So this talks about the app. They have Amcrest Cloud or Amcrest View Pro. So with Cloud, you can do secure offsite cloud storage. With Pro, you can use microSD card storage. With Cloud, it says view unlimited cameras simultaneously. With Amcrest View Pro, it says up to 16 cameras. You can pause and read through the extra features here. So this talks about how to set it up, and I'll be walking through this. So it has instructions for each app. It also has desktop methods for connecting to this. You can use a web browser. There's an Amcrest version of Blue Iris, and there's an Amcrest Surveillance Pro software. And this talks about alternative methods. Then they have troubleshooting. So I'll get the camera out here. So there we have the camera. It comes with some screws and anchors. And this is the weatherproof fitting for the Ethernet cable. So this has plastic on the front. Peel that off. So we can see, I think that's a visible light and infrared light. We have the camera and a microphone up here. So this is a PoE camera. That stands for Power over Ethernet. So being that this is a camera, it requires electricity to run it. So with Power over Ethernet, it sends power and network over one cable. So you just have one cable going to your camera. Then on the other end, you can use a PoE switch, or you can use something like this. This is a PoE injector. So this you would run your network in here from your internet provider's router or a switch or something, and then you would run PoE into the PoE port. So this will simulate the network connection. So this white wire is just network, and then this device injects electricity or adds electricity to the network cable. So if you have a camera you need to mount in a location a long distance away with no electricity, this is the way to do it. You just have to run this thin cable. You don't have to run an outlet and plug something in, and it just looks kind of ugly. Oftentimes you can even hide this inside of the wall. So if we look at the camera here, if you can drill a hole in the wall and hide the cable, you can run this inside. You can also mount this outside. Now if you run this inside a wall, I like to throw a little piece of foam insulation or something in here just to keep insects out. Although tiny ones will find their way in anyway. So this has 3 mounting screws here, and there's a screw here to adjust it. So you can mount this on a wall like this. You could twist this around and mount it to a soffit like that. It has a built-in little hood over the camera. On the bottom we have a place to add microSD card storage. Now under my thumb here is a QR code for setting it up. I'll get a screwdriver here and we'll open that up. So I'm using a number 2 Phillips. So this has a number of ways to store the content. The microSD card is on the camera itself, so needless to say if someone were to swipe your camera they would get your footage, but you'll have to use your best judgment if that works for you. If the camera's up high enough where someone can't easily get it, that could be a good option. And also this will all be screwed down, so it's not like someone can just take it without unscrewing it. That would take some effort. So here we have the port for the microSD card. I'll just throw one in right now. The card I'll be using is a Samsung Pro Endurance 32 gigabyte card. So lots of manufacturers make high endurance cards. I like to use those for security cameras. They're also good for like dash cameras and such. So I put it in the label facing away from the lens. That looks incorrect. I'll switch it around. Now the label's facing the front of the camera. I'll use my thumbnail to click it in. And then I'll screw the cover back on. And this only goes on one way. Make sure you orient the pins so it fits on properly. So I'm going to set this up on my bench first. So I'll plug this into my network switch. I'll plug this into power, and then I'll head over to the app and we'll get this installed. Okay, so I'm on my iPad. I searched for Amcrest in the App Store. This would also work on Android, and you can use this app on phones or tablets. So they do have a specific version for the iPad, and I do have it installed, so I'll just hit open, otherwise you would download it. So here we have live view. I'll hit the camera icon in the upper right. I'll hit add device. Then I'll tap on P2P connection. I'll tap on the QR code, and I'll scan the QR code on the camera. For name, I'll add a name. I'll call this Driveway AI. Then we have username, password, live view, playback, and we can change those later. I'll hit done and I'll hit start live view. Now it's asking me to add a new password here. So here we can see the camera. So as you can see, this was super easy to set up and get in the app. So I'm going to go install this outside, and then I'll take a look at its features. Okay, so here I have my camera installed outside. I have it pointed down quite a bit because I just want to limit it to my driveway for now. So I just mounted it with the 3 mounting screws, and then I put it in the position I want, and I tightened down the screw on the back side of this. And then you can see the wires coming out of here. I don't have a hidden wire install on this specific camera. So let's head into the computer and take a look at it. Okay, so I'm back on my computer now, and I want to go on the web interface for this camera, so I'll need to know the IP address. So a simple way to do it is to download the Amcrest IP config tool from Amcrest's website. And I see here this is the IP5M-B1276EW-AI camera. And we can see the IP address there. So I'm going to enter that into a browser. Now I've already done that, I'll switch over to that. Okay, so I've entered that IP address in my web browser, and we have a login screen. So I'll enter in the username and password I set earlier. So I'm using the Chrome browser. I find it works better with the Amcrest Web Interface. Now it's been a couple weeks since I filmed the last clip. I wasn't happy with my recording, so I'm recording it again. So the landing page here is a live view of the camera. I blurred out a couple areas for privacy reasons, but we're actually going to take care of that in this setup. So I'm not going to go over every feature, but I'll go over a couple things. So if you want to do setup, we'll go up here to setup, click on it. And here we have general camera configuration options, but I want to go to video on the left. So we're under camera video. In this first section here, we show the different streams. So we have the main stream and the substream. Now this actually supports 3 streams. So if we go on the substream and click on substream 1, we have a drop down here for substream 2. So the main stream is your highest resolution stream. So if you're on your local network or you're recording, you might want to use that main stream. Now, if you're off-site looking at the video remotely, you might want to use the substream. So the main stream allows you to use H.264 or H.265 encoding. The substream allows those, but it also allows MJPEG. Now, if we go to substream 2, it does not have MJPEG. So you can look through the streams and the settings to see what meets your needs for what your application is. And then we have bitrate. So it says customized. I'm going to set this to 8192 and I'll hit save. So I'll skip over here to overlay. And this is a nice feature called privacy mask. So this allows you to mask out certain areas. So I want to mask out this license plate. Now typically on a car it's going to be moving, so you probably wouldn't typically use this for a license plate, but I'm just using that as an example. So you have 4 of these squares here. The other one is this upper right hand corner. Now you can't draw actual shapes with this besides these rectangles, so I'll just put these rectangles on here until I'm blocking out the area. So I have the mask in place. I'll hit enable over here and I'll hit save. Let's take a look at that real quick. We'll click live. So here you can see we're blocking out the license plate and we're blocking out this upper right hand corner. So go back to setup. Now there's different options here. We have channel title, so I can call this driveway and you can align it different ways. We can also change the time, different fonts. We have logo overlay and custom overlay. So I'll hit save here. So I'll click on audio here and we have the audio settings. So the default is AAC, but there are a couple of other options here. I'm going to leave those as default. Let's click over to network. So network has lots of settings here. We have TCP/IP, connection, DDNS, IP filter, SMTP, UPnP, and HTTPS. So let's go into event. So this is where we're going to set up our event detection. So I'll click on video detection. So this is currently set to enable. So we can go to schedule here. So if you want to set up these different sections, you can click setup and it will show down here and then you can change it. You can see how it's changing that one. If I go to Wednesday, we can change that here and then hit save below to save it. So it's set up to record motion detection all of the time. We have this record delay for 10 seconds. So that's the time between events. So next on the left, we have smart motion detection. So this has a couple of ways to detect humans. One is the smart motion detection. We can enable this and we can make sure we have human checked. We'll hit save and this will record events with humans in them. So it does just have a sensitivity level. It's in the middle right now. We also have motor vehicle detection. So that's the easiest way to detect humans. And I'll get into how this plays out when we play back. There's also audio detection, and then we have smart plan. So this is the second way. So this can be a little confusing at first. There's this light bulb for IVS. So that's intelligent video surveillance. So this whole thing is gray. If we click it, it turns blue, and then we can save it. and that turns it on. So that's the first thing you do. Then you go to IVS here. And then we go in the upper right here and we hit plus. And we have this rule type and it says tripwire or intrusion. So tripwire detects if a human or motor vehicle crosses a certain path. So we can configure this in the parameters here. We have schedule setup, so that's similar to our motion setup schedule. Then we have direction, A, B, or BA, or both ways. So this can detect if the object is moving from left to right, right to left, or either direction. And here we can choose if we want to detect humans or motor vehicles, or both. And we have a lot of the same motion detection settings here. And then on the left we can draw a rule. But I'm going to do intrusion detection, and it's similar but different. So again, we have the schedule set up, then action we have appears or crosses, so I'll do either, and then direction is enter or exit. So you can have it detect if things enter, if they exit, or both, and I'll do humans and motor vehicles. So I need to go over here to the left and I'll say draw rule. So after I'm done drawing, I'll right click, and that will lock it in place. Then I'll go to the bottom here and I'll save it. So now if a human or a vehicle enters this space, it will trigger a motion detection event and record video. So I'll test that out in a minute. Let's pop down to storage real quick and destination. So I have the microSD card installed. We can click on SD card here and we could format it. Now I've already been testing this, so I have stored things on it, but you can see that card there. Now if we go to record control, we can tell it what to do if the disk is full and it's set to overwrite. So this will record in a loop. And depending on how much activity you have, this could be days, weeks, months, or even years. Like if you had this in a closed closet that people rarely enter. Now if we see the record stream here, we can see mainstream and substream. So I talked about that earlier. So I'm going to record the mainstream, but if you don't want high resolution recordings, you could record the substream. So I'll go back to the live view. So I'm going to go walk across the driveway. Before I go walk in front of the camera, I noticed there's one thing I missed here. On the IVS setup, I needed to check record here. So I'll hit save. And now I'll go walk in front of the camera. So I walked in front of the camera. I'll go to playback here. We can see a calendar. I want to click on file list, and we have a list of all the events here. Now there are two ways this recorded, with smart motion detection and IVS. So I'll click on this drop down and I'll go to SMD human. So it's smart motion detection human, and we have 3 events. I'll double click on it. And here we can see the video. Now sometimes this might lag a little bit. You can always click on this little arrow to download it to your local computer. So I can click on this again, and I can go to intrusion. And again, we recorded the event. So smart motion detection is a simple setup. If you want more complicated setups, you can use IVS. So I'll throw some native clips in from the camera so you can see them in full resolution. Now this will be dependent upon how you're viewing this. So if you're limited to 1080p, you may be watching it downscaled a bit. I'll also include some night vision captures. So those are a couple samples of the camera. So that's the Amcrest 5 megapixel Smart PoE security camera with AI. I have lots of things outside that can trigger cameras. There's wind, there's animals. It's nice that I can configure it to just record the things I want to see, which would be humans and vehicles. So that way I can detect when deliveries are made or when cars pull into my driveway. Now I only touched on the things you can use this for. You can also connect this up to a Synology NAS or the Amcrest network video recorder. It also has cloud recording. And this will work with pretty much any mainstream security camera software. So if you're tired of false positives with the traditional security camera, I think this is a great option. So that's all I'm going to cover in this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you like this video, please click like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you could do that. And thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.